I would like to call the December 17, 2025 regular board meeting of the Fenton Community High School District 100 Board to order. May I have a roll call?
Goodrich?
Yes.
McCullough? Miller?
Here.
Lewis?
Here.
Radzinski?
Here.
Figueroa?
Here.
We have a quorum. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sam, please read our Fenton mission, beliefs, and Bison Way statement.
Absolutely. Fenton mission statement: cultivate successful, passionate, empowered learners through rigor, relevance, and relationships. Fenton belief statement: successful, passionate, empowered learners thrive when we provide a safe, caring, and welcoming environment. Diversity, equity, inclusion unify our community. School and home collaborate as one. We champion innovative teaching and engage learning with state-of-the-art facilities. We infuse social-emotional learning into academics and culture. We prepare students to fulfill their civic responsibility. We immerse students in authentic life experiences. The Bison Way. Students and adults at Fenton High School create a safe, caring, empathetic environment where we believe in each other, respect diversity, communicate openly, grow together, and hold each other to high expectations to become the leaders and innovators of the future.
Karen, do we have any public comments tonight?
Yes, you do.
As a reminder, public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, with a limit this evening of 30 minutes total. As a reminder, please address staff members and students by title and not by name to protect their privacy.
Larry Anzalone?
Good evening. I have to assume that the board got I had a conversation with the complaint manager.
Excuse me, Mr. Anzalone. If your comments are about your workplace, this is not the forum. If you are making a comment as a citizen about other things that's going on, but as far as your employment with this district, this is not the forum for that conversation.
Where is the forum then? I've already completed the chain of command, exhausted all the things that you said I needed to do. How do I talk to the board? Am I making an appointment with you right now to talk to the board?
If it's about your employment, it's through the staff and exec that's here.
I've exhausted the staff.
That's where that goes.
I've exhausted the staff. Do you understand that?
And the channels that are in place and the policies that are in place.
Yes, I've exhausted all those.
This is not a place for you to come and
Then
air your grievances.
Give me an alternative in which I can talk to the board. Either set me up an appointment or whatever. But what I've got to say needs to be heard.
This is not the forum for you to come over your boss's head to us without going through the channels that are in place. Now, in every workplace, there are decisions made about us that we don't always agree with, but we have to respect the decisions that are being made. I can't go to the governor and complain about my boss in my job. Just improper. Why would this situation be any different?
Because I elected you people up there.
As a citizen of this community, not as an employee, your role as an employee here is separate from your residence in this district.
So if there's
a chain of command and process going on.
I hear what you're saying, and I respectfully hear what you're saying, but there has to be an avenue in which you've exhausted the entire chain of command here in which the board can hear what's going on, because the documentation that I got is inaccurate, okay? It's flawed, it's filled with lies. You guys supposedly got a copy of it.
And
how do I address that?
I have a suggestion.
Just a second,
Okay,
Sam.
all right.
you standing before here making a public comment gives us no hard documentation or anything to really act upon. If you want to go on the record and send us some personally, not personally, but through our email, because our emails are listed for everybody to see. They're on the school website. How to contact us and how to communicate with us. Document what you're saying, and if there's anything to it, that would be actually a proper channel, as opposed to coming here and you can say anything can be said here. Go on the record with it. Put your name to it. Give us something
I
hard
put my
we can
name
act
to
on
everything.
it. But this to complain or to do it in this fashion, it's just improper. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I think from what I'm hearing, I agree with the suggestion that you're referring to the uniform grievance which the board heard and was sent out.
I don't know
on
if
their-
the board heard it. I get no feedback of that. I don't even know if the documentation was given to them. I have nothing.
Okay, then what I'd recommend you do is you received that from the attorney on the board's behalf. Take that, and if you have issues with it, you can send an email to the board outlining your issues with it. You asked for an alternative. I think that's what President Lewis just offered, is an opportunity to share that with the board. So that's an alternative.
Well, if the board policy, for example, the board policy, you talk to the complaint manager, correct? Now, why wasn't I able to confer with the complaint manager of the documentation, the discussion we had, okay, to see the accuracy that the communication that transpired in that office is accurate, so that I don't even know where it goes. I don't know if it goes to the board, if it goes to the attorney, if it goes to the superintendent. I have no idea where this document's going to go. But it would sure have been nice that I would have been able an opportunity to, me and Mr. Caranda, he was to sit down, go over the document, so I see what's in it, because I have no idea. We just spoke. It was transpired. I never saw the document. I don't know where it goes. This is a flawed system. Do we really want to fix things here? Or do we... I don't know if you got what I said in that document. All I know that the document I got from your attorney is completely inaccurate, filled with lies and falsisms.
Okay, then the suggestion, you asked for an alternative, is take all these questions you had. This is not public discussion, so we're not going to dialogue back and forth on the topic. But what you can do, if you want to speak directly to the board, email the board directly. Other citizens do that. And then, obviously, you know, we're not going to have a board meeting on it, but they can read it and hear what you're saying. And if there's questions, they can talk to me or individually reach out to you potentially. That's usually what happens. So I think that's what President Lewis is suggesting you do.
This board has one employee that we hold accountable for everything that goes on in this building at this district. We got one employee. He's responsible for everything underneath him.
I've heard what you've said.
so,
it's not like I
that's
need
the
you to
channel.
repeat it over and over again. I've heard exactly what you said, and I clearly understand
and in the
that.
same way,
But we need to
have
redo
given
our board policies.
This board and the last board have allowed you extreme latitude. This has been going on for well over a year. We allowed you, we let it go on, but it's improper, sir. It is just plainly, it is improper.
Well, then
you've been given an alternative. If you have a direct issue, there's the problem with how our one employee is handling things here, then send us documentation backing that up, and we'll read it. We'll go through it as board members, because that's what we're elected to do. Give us something we can act on, not a statement you're making here. Give us document stuff that we can go through and hold him accountable to making sure it was handled properly and that it's accurate.
It's a shame that this board doesn't want to fix the problem. It really is a shame.
There's a lot of people that have got up in that podium where you are at and spewed out opinions rather than fact.
I'm well aware of that. I was there when I could hear them.
It happens all the time. Now, we can corroborate, give us something we can act on, a document. We can go through, verify, whatever. So,
Can I ask you
as an
a question?
employee, that would be the proper channel.
This process I went through with the complaint manager, every single one of my complaints, every single one of them were unfounded.
Excuse
Is
me,
that
sir.
possible?
We are not going to, we're not going to go through
There's other avenues I will take.
workplace-related discussion here. It's improper.
That's your opinion.
It's not. Thank you, sir. Our next item is informational. Sam?
Okay, so tonight we have quite a few variety of topics here tonight. We're going to look at some finances. We're going to introduce our new superintendent in waiting, a board member vacancy, which we're looking to fill, and a few other items. But we're going to kick it off with financial projections with Rob Grossi. Some of you may remember Rob that have been to board meetings in the past, but he's a financial consultant. He travels the state of Illinois, maybe other states too, but anyway, he's well known throughout Illinois because of the kind of insight he has, experience he has, as far as the way to look at finances from a holistic viewpoint. And he's been with us over the years and provided great insight. So we're going to turn it over to Rob and go through our financial projections.
Thank you, Sam. Good evening, everybody. Merry Christmas. So tonight, so for the last month or so, Doug and I have been putting together this document that you're going to see. But know that the projections that you're going to see tonight are based on what I see as an outsider looking at your school district. I have the opportunity to work with a lot of school districts, that are really healthy, a lot of school districts like Evanston who have struggled significantly and have major challenges. I'm somewhat familiar with your district. I've been around off and on for about 10 years. And about 10 years ago, the district had financial challenges. So feel free to ask questions at any time. So I'm going to start with historical financial summary. So this is for the last 8 years. 9 years. These are your, excluding capital activity, these are your revenues and expenditures. The blue bars are the revenues, red bars are expenditures, and revenue growth during this time period has been 3.5%. Expenditure growth has been 4.1%. And you could see, and it'll be illustrated more on the next slide, that the red is now higher than the blue. Expenses are higher than revenues. So putting those two numbers together, this is your structural surplus or deficit during this same time period. So zero is a balanced budget, revenues minus expenditures. So the district through 2023 had growing surpluses, but in the last two years, those surpluses have now become deficits. So for your last audit, your expenditures, excluding capital, exceeded revenues for the first time since about 2017. So what are the primary reasons for the decline over the last 2 years. First of all, on the revenue side, a couple things happened. Number one is for the entire state, the Illinois Department of Revenue made a calculation here and overpaid all taxing bodies. So everybody, school districts included, received more than double of what they should have received. The Department of Revenue recognized they had an error after the 2023 year and started clawing back the error. So corporate personal property taxes, which are taxes that corporations pay to Springfield and then they're distributed to schools based on a formula, decreased from basically 4.3 million in 23 to 1.8 million. So that's a drop of $2.4 million approximately. Then, again, all other school districts also received money for COVID relief called ESSER revenues. And those revenues, which were $858,000 in 24, went away, just like with every school district. So nearly every school district has seen the beginning of sort of a cliff in terms of revenue received in the school district. On the expenditure side, just pointing out 4 major categories. The district's out-of-district tuition has increased very significantly over the past few years. In 2023, it was a little over $3 million. In 2025, the district was paying almost $1.5 million more than 2 years prior. And if you went back a couple years, that number was more like $2 million. Debt payments. Debt payments were always around $739,000. That's for leases and things like that, for copiers, et cetera. That went up as the debt certificates started rolling onto the books, and the district had to start paying principal and interest on that. That started to phase in 2024, and now the district is paying an extra about $2.4 million out of its budget to pay back that borrowing.
So you primarily talk about the STEM wing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, the STEM wing. Salaries and benefits have increased. That's not a major increase relative to what I see with other schools. It went up from 24.6 to a little over 27. Transportation costs, almost all school districts have seen significant increases in transportation, special ed transportation. Special ed, by the way, in nearly every district I work with has increased significantly post-COVID. And transportation is an aspect of that. And, but in addition to that, just in general, transportation is going up. So in total, over the last, from 2023 to 2025, just in those categories, expenses are $7.8 million higher than they were.
Has anything been identified to explain the rapid jump in transportation costs?
Well, for the districts that use that outsource their transportation, the busing companies are having a huge labor problem. Well, even the schools that have their own buses. People are going to work for Amazon and companies like that and delivering packages, making more money than delivering people. So it's bringing a lot of the labor market in and of itself has shrunk, but for that particular service, they're moving, and so now the busing companies are having to pay significant money to attract bus drivers, and then in the private, and then for school districts, in some school districts I work with that have their own busing, those bus drivers are going to work for these companies because now they're paying more than the school districts. So it's a supply and demand issue on labor that's one of the primary causes of transportation in general. And then special ed transportation, because school districts can't find services to deliver. Like some schools I work with are paying like essentially the equivalent of Uber drivers $100,000 a year to bring one student or two students from 30 miles away into their school district or into the service area that they're going to. These are expenses that the district absorbs. They have to absorb it, and unfortunately, the state of Illinois doesn't reimburse them very much for those expenses.
That's what I was going to say. We've heard this through other superintendents. The reimbursement rates are declining.
They are.
So,
I guess
Yes.
Well, this is almost more of a question for Dr. Wilds here. I thought a year or two ago, we'd actually worked a deal out.
Talking to your mic.
Oh. I thought a year or two ago, we'd actually worked a deal out with some of the other school districts here to share routes and stuff. I hoped we'd yield some benefits from that, but maybe
Well,
not.
this is the first year we did implement that. So we probably haven't seen the fruits of that necessarily, but potentially could help.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, the hope is that with our transportation, with doing some consolidation of those routes from this summer, the hope is that we'll see a decrease in our transportation expenditures for the
Just not
26
yet.
school year.
And this is mostly labor, you say?
It's primarily labor, yes.
Because gas is going down.
Right.
All right, good point. Yeah.
Buses have gone up.
What?
Buses have gone up.
Yeah.
Gas has come
We
down.
bought a couple buses last year, I thought, with crews.
It's primarily labor.
Yeah, all right.
And then in addition to that, the district has invested approximately $33 million over this 9-year period. The district used fund balance reserves for its water mitigation project and did the debt certificates for its family. So the surpluses and deficits and capital investment all impact fund balances. So this is the district's historical fund balances. This is a start of some relevant slides I'm going to show you. In 2017, you had 249 days of fund balance reserve. The state of Illinois recommends a minimum of 180 days if you want to receive the highest profile score from their rubric that measures financial strength of a school district. The district peaked in 2022. You had 351 days, almost a year's worth of reserves. And a decision was made at that time to use some of those reserves for the water mitigation project. But you could see that since that time, days of reserve are starting to decline. As the district was, again, using some fund balance reserves for the water mitigation project, and then now that in 2025, we have the deficit that brings fund balances down. So now we're down to 240 days worth of reserves at the end of June 2025. So before I get into the specific projections for this school district, just generally, and I think it's important that you hear this, I'm very concerned, and most of the people I work with are very concerned that every area of a district's revenue source, local, state, and federal, are going to experience a fiscal cliff. Generally speaking, the last 5 years have been the best year. I've been working with schools for a long time. The best 5 years ever for schools financially. CPI was 5% 2 years in a row, which helped tax revenues. The evidence-based funding for those districts that get it, that's been growing a lot. Everything's lined up. And now it seems like we're trending back down towards what's being called a fiscal cliff. On the local revenues, first of all, pre-COVID, the 10 years before COVID, CPI averaged 1.75%. So 80% of your money comes from real estate taxes. So 80% of your money grew at 1.75%. Between 2024 and 2022 and 24, that was almost about 4.5%. That's trending back down. Your board's going to be asked to approve a levy of 2.9% tonight. You can see it's trending down. 5%, 5%, 3.4, 2.9, and that's trending down. So your largest revenue source for everybody is mostly going to go down. Corporate personal property taxes, as I mentioned, is recalibrating, and interest rates are starting to decline as the Federal Reserve starts taking action to lower rates. On the state side, and this is something I'm very concerned about, since 2001, the state of Illinois only had one balanced budget, ever. And I mean, during that entire time period, between 2000 and pre-COVID. And the deficits were multi-billion dollars at the end. The district owed roughly $6 to $8 billion in outstanding bills. They were paying hundreds of millions of dollars in penalties. And even in 2020, I received a call from ISB, asking what it would look like if they cut funding to education by 32%. That's how bad things were. Then COVID hit. And for all the bad of COVID, financially, it saved the state and provided good value to the school. So the state of Illinois received billions of dollars, paid off their bills, increased funding to education, and you could see on the left that they actually started running a surplus. Well, now that ESSER money, just like with schools, is gone, but their budget is now significantly higher. So the governor's office itself is projecting now that deficits are going to go back to the multi-billion-dollar level.
Is that the graph on the lower right, the projected?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
projected
okay.
from the governor's
So
office.
the left is actual, the one on the right is projected?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is really important because historically, the state has been able to kick the can down the road. They issued bonds. They didn't pay their bills. I don't think those avenues are going to be available anymore because the district's credit rating, the state's credit rating was close to junk status. It's the worst in the country, and I don't think they could go significantly towards that route again. What it means to this district, for Fenton School District, you don't really rely on state revenues. So if they freeze evidence-based funding, that means nothing to your school district. It means a lot to some of the other districts I work with, but it means nothing to this district. But if they cut funding to education, it's districts that match the profile of Fenton that they're going to go after in some form or another. Now, that's not built into my projections, but it's something to keep on the back end of the radar. Yes?
A couple of slides ago, you had the top revenue line that was state, and it was going from, yeah, there it is. That going from 4 million to
That's just corporate taxes.
well,
Yeah.
corporate tax revenues.
It's different than state revenues.
Explain that to me.
Sure. There's a revenue source. Corporations pay a certain percentage of their income
Right.
to the state of Illinois.
Yeah, regular, okay.
Illinois Department of Revenue, yep. And then it's distributed, it's actually called local revenues because they used to pay the local communities directly, and then now it goes through the state. 1975, they changed it, and now it gets distributed to the schools. This is no longer, the 1.8 is the norm for your school district. That's what it was before they made the mistake.
So we've, at one time, we always got 1.8, and the reason is, it really looks like a decline, but it isn't, is because they're taking their
overpaid.
money, they're taking their money back.
Yeah, if they paid correctly those couple years, every district would look a little bit worse during those 2022 and 23 audits.
Okay.
So this is to me is an alarming. So this is evidence-based funding, which used to be called general state aid. And for you people that are old like me, there were 10 years in a row where the state didn't increase funding to schools. The foundation level was $6,119. It was flat. They were even prorating money because they didn't have enough money. Well, you could see that with evidence-based funding, which has helped a lot of districts. They've gone from $4 billion a year to $8.5 billion a year. That's the annual evidence-based funding. Well, now with the money that was partially being used to pay this going away, the question is, how are they going to pay for this? Because the budget's way more than it was pre-COVID, and the resources have gone away, but the expenditures have not. So that's why there's a possibility, I'm not calling it a probability yet, that this could have some impact down the road for all school districts that are Tier 3, Tier 4 in the school formula. And then on the federal side, we don't know. That's a big uncertainty. Right now, it looks most likely that what's happening with the Department of Education is that the bureaucracy part is trying to go away, but the funds, like your major funds like Title I and IDEA, which is special ed, are going to go straight to the schools. But of more of a concern is that the federal government, the state relies on federal funds as well, and Pritzker and Trump don't get along too well. So I don't know if you knew that. And so if some federal money is pulled from the state, that's going to exasperate, if that's the right word, their financial condition, because they only have 28 days of reserves, the state of Illinois. So now, again, these aren't baked into these projections. These are possibilities that could happen. So maybe next year they become realistic possibilities, but now at this point they're not. So the formatting is a little off. But again, 76% of your money comes from real estate taxes. So CPI is the major driver of your revenue growth. We're projecting, for the levy tonight, 2.9%. Right now, the 2026 levy is trending around 2.8, and we're projecting it's going to go back to 2.4. Interest earnings were projected to decline. Evidence-based funding, you only get $2,000 more a year. That's easy to project. And state and federal grant revenues, you don't get an increase there. So collectively, I'm projecting the likely scenario that your revenues are going to grow 2.4% during the projection period. On the expenditure side, roughly 2/3 of your money comes from salaries and benefits. That's normal for school districts, and that's the main driver of your expenditures. But you have a couple of other expenditures out there, like tuition, that are becoming more and more significant. In terms of the assumptions that we use for these projections, we are anticipating 17 teacher retirements during the projection period, so that'll help. We're projecting health insurance premiums to go up, which make up a major portion of employee benefits. So employee benefits going up 5.3%. The district's going to spend on average, this is not including your major capital, $340,000 on building maintenance and $125,000 on non-capitalized equipment. Those are historical averages. The district will spend $8.5 million to complete existing projects, and the remaining $5 million of capital fund reserves after that will be paid for with additional projects during the projection period. Out-of-district tuition is going to increase 6% this year, which will be a lot slower, and then 3% thereafter. Maybe that's optimistic, I don't know. And then all other expenses increasing about 3%. All that together has expenditures going up 3.4%. So if revenues grow 2.4 and expenditures grow 3.4, mathematically things are going to get worse. And that's concerning because your district's going into this scenario, which I'm calling the likely scenario of expenditure growth higher than revenue growth. Let me add a caveat, back up for a second. Within the assumptions is no reduction in staff. So that's a lever that the district will have that could change these numbers. But we wanted to show the picture of what it would look like if we did nothing, and then that would create the magnitude of what needs to be done to stabilize this thing. But without that action and without other action, we're projecting the district's deficits to grow beyond the 2025 number. And if that happens, the district would break through the 180-day number sometime after the 2027 fiscal year and would only have 41 days of reserve left after FY31, which is unsustainable. So it shows a picture that kind of, to me, provides a mandate that something has to be done to get this thing, start focusing on this to stabilize it. Just real quick alternate. So there's a realistic worst case, realistic best case. So it's not worst or best. If CPI stays a little higher at like 3%, which is about where it's at now, and if salaries grow a little bit less than we're projecting, and expenditures, or if CPI goes a little bit lower than what we're expecting, there's a realistic worst and best case scenario. So the blue dots are the current projections that you saw earlier, likely projections. But there is a scenario, even under realistic. So if CPI goes to 3%, CPI is good for your district. It's bad personally, good for your district. If inflation stays at 3%, you'll do all right, but you're still going to be deficit spending. It's just a stable deficit. But if CPI drops back down to pre-COVID numbers, like 1.7 or 2%, that makes the situation even worse. And then this would be what would happen to fund balances. Recommendations, 4 recommendations. Make major decisions with the goal of ensuring annual expenditures do not exceed annual revenues. Get back to balanced budgets. That should be an objective if possible. The district, to ensure balanced budgets throughout the projection period, it would need to look at a combination of a reduction in expenditures or an increase in revenues of $5 million. If this cannot be achieved without impacting student learning, because that's the most important thing, the district will have to consider revenue enhancements. Number 2, identify operational efficiencies within the budget as soon as possible as the first major step to slowing expenditure growth. So the good news is the district does have fund balance reserves and has time to stabilize the district without shocking the system. For a district like this, you start looking at things like if somebody retires, ask the question, do we need to fill that position? Those types of thoughts should be being considered starting with next year's budget. Right-sized staffing levels to adjust to declining enrollment. Declining enrollment gives the district a little bit of an opportunity to reduce expenditures without impacting student learning. Look at ways to deliver out-of-district tuition services in a more cost-effective manner. Again, this is something that a lot of school districts are trying to come up with a solution to provide equal or better quality services at a lower price. And examine more efficient ways to deliver non-instructional services, such as building maintenance and pupil transportation. Always the last round of projections should be in the classroom impacting the kids. Third, consider issuing bonds to address both current and future major capital investment with the objective of preserving fund balance reserves. I know the district attempted to do that a couple times, and it failed. But the state of Illinois has subsequently passed legislation recognizing that schools have life safety concerns that affect the health and safety of the kids, and school districts can issue that, and it doesn't count against debt limits. So if capital is identified as life safety, that's something to consider, and then continue to make financial decisions within regularly updated financial projection model. I used to do this every year for the school district. It's a good idea to do that, or if something major happens, and then we could see if the action taken by the board is working, or we could see what's happening in the outside landscape to see if we need to do more or less. So it's a lot I talked about, and I apologize for being long-winded, but that's kind of what I see for this district at this point.
Any questions for Rob?
A lot to digest.
Okay, thanks, Rob.
Thanks.
Just hang around because we're going to talk a little bit more financial, so
Of course.
maybe eat a cupcake or something and be available if
Goes right to
if
my
we need
hips.
to. Yeah. Right.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Benson, Mr. Lewis, the board, and community members here. Thank you again, Mr. Grossi, for providing some of the financial projections. And Rob has been great to work with, sharing sort of our information in the previous past and trying to identify some future options to try to continue to do all the great things that we're doing here within Fenton, as well as trying to get ourselves in the best fiscal as well as instructional environment as we possibly can. To sort of piggyback off of what Mr. Grossi was talking about, again, we do have all of those financial projections in front of us, but we still also do have facility improvements to consider and maintain and upkeep. And what we wanted to talk through briefly is, even within some of these financial constraints that we do have some financial options that we can consider to continue to improve on our facilities. We don't have to sacrifice necessarily one thing for another. So with our facility improvements, we've used our architect firm, STR. They've conducted multiple facility assessments for us for various reasons to prepare for our referendum back in 2020. They've also completed our health life safety audit in 2021. They provided us an updated facility assessment after we completed the water mitigation, stadium renovations, the STEM wing additions, to provide us some additional assessments or improvements to our facility. And then most recently, again this year, we asked them to provide us some facility assessments of pricing and potential costs to various areas. Those areas include mechanical, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, roofs, parking lots, classrooms, athletic facilities, hallways, essentially the entirety of our campus. On the low end, these projects and the facility assessments, STR has identified about $40 million worth of work on sort of the low end, and then as high as $100 million. Again, these are numbers that sort of started in 2020 when we, as a district, we were looking at the referendum. And so those places are still wants and needs for us as a district. And what we're doing as an admin team is sort of taking that giant list of facility improvements and administratively trying to prioritize what are the wants, what are the needs, what are the most highly impactful things for our students, our staff, and our community. As Mr. Grossi alluded to, and we've talked to the board about this throughout the budget process, the levy process, the STEM wing addition, by the end of this fiscal year, we'll have spent about $8.5 million on the finishing touches to the STEM wing addition, which will leave us with around $5 million of remaining money in Fund 20, which is the capital project fund, to do on other facility improvements. We don't have the ability to take that money. We just saw the financial projections. Can we just move that money from Fund 60 to pay our operations or pay our teacher salary? The answer is no. We borrowed that money from ourselves, our future selves, to fund capital improvement projects, so we have to continue to use that $5 million on capital improvement projects. There are other funding options. Not saying any of these are good, better, best at this moment. It's just as the business manager and the financial steward and the treasurer, it's my duty and responsibility to at least provide you the options that are in fact available. Referendum, I understand that is something that we have gone through multiple times, not necessarily something that we're interested in considering, but that is a funding option for the board. We can, again, we saw the financial projections. They're not ideal, but we could shift additional local funds through levy process and things like that to move money from the education fund, operation of transportation, et cetera, and we could move and levy more money into operation and maintenance. And so paying for some of these facility improvements out of local funds, again, not necessarily ideal because as Mr. Grossi alluded to, we don't want to take necessarily funds that are supporting teaching and learning and move it to facility improvement. Another option that Mr. Grossi alluded to is a relatively new option that many school districts, especially a school district such as ours, where we have not been successful in passing a referendum. If we have facility improvements that are deemed health and life safety priorities, we can issue what's called a life safety bond. This would be giving us a funding source, a borrowing ability where we could borrow money to pay for life safety needs within the district and within our grounds. Yes, sir.
On this life and safety bond, is that like something that can be issued without voter approval?
Yes.
And then that would add to the tax bill, the real estate tax bill?
Yes.
What is the funding limit on something like that?
There is no funding limit on a life safety bond.
60 million? You could go to life and safety bond for 60 million.
We could, yes. So how that would work, we'd have to, and I'll explain this a little bit more in the next slide, but what we would have is our life safety audit that was completed in 2021, we would have that amended, and we'd have either our architects or a construction management company reassess our life safety needs. Typically, pre this new change in 2024 with these life safety bonds, many architects who needed to complete the 10-year life safety audit did not put a lot of life safety needs on the health life safety audit, because once that's there, the district is responsible to complete and address those things in a 10-year period. So in 2021, when STR, again, if you recall, we were in the middle of working on a referendum, they put a handful of items that were in health and life safety needs in that health life safety audit
So now we're on the hook.
for 1.5 million.
Yeah, it's under 2 million, and we've been slowly chiseling away at it. Yeah, exactly.
But items that they did not include that could qualify would be things like roof repairs, parking lots, slip and fall hazards, HVAC, piping, updating bathrooms to modern code, et cetera.
$850,000 for HVAC. Is it working yet? Last I knew, it still had some bugs.
You're referencing the contract with IBS, the
Yes.
BAS system?
John says yes.
Yeah, so that work is towards getting the software to align with the current technology, the actuators and the univents and the heating elements and the cooling elements. That equipment has not been updated, but the software to manage those air handling units, those items, those are still, can be almost original to the building.
I thought the 850 was going to include hardware and software.
It is, but as the software is updated, as we're looking at what's happening, it's identifying some issues within the HVAC system, like a valve that's not working or something a vent that's not opening and closing. So we're trying, as soon as those are identified, we're trying to repair those. So that's like what we talked about last time when they came in.
I don't mean to digress too much, but I know we just spent, I thought, some serious money on a system that's not yet working really in the HVAC.
That's it. What we paid for was a monitoring system and a system that made what we did have more efficient.
Yeah.
It did nothing to address other hardware type issues that existed throughout the building that's still there. If you recall and go back, when we did the referendum, $40 million was identified and necessary just to address HVAC and all of the things he just mentioned. So that system just helped us to better account for what's going on. It didn't fix the problem.
Compared to your house, think of what we did as your thermostat.
Yeah, there you go.
All it is the thermostat, but it's the thermostat for the whole building and all 40
And
HVAC.
I won't dispute
Right.
that there's probably some mismatches between the old stuff that we have and new stuff we're trying to put in, which is kind of summarizing it. But my point ultimately is whoever sold this to us said it was going to work.
Well, it works.
It's worked.
The parts,
worked.
but it didn't replace any air handlers.
No,
It didn't replace any HVAC units. It's just making all the units talk, and it's helping us find problems. It's fine tuning it, but it didn't fix the bigger issue. It's just making what we have work more efficiently.
All right.
And helping us find problems before they become
It's just the
critical.
last thing I heard, that it still had some bugs.
Yeah,
Now, that's not very
well,
sophisticated, but
No, everyone's, I think we're kind of on the same page,
page.
but it is identifying some work that still needs to be done.
All right.
And we're doing that, and it's real slow progress. It's
finding
not,
problems.
it's not a quick process that we're going through.
All right.
And to tie back to what your original question, so if we identify those life safety concerns, we amend our life safety audit, and the architects or whoever conducts that life safety audit for us, if they identify $5 million worth of work, we could issue a $5 million life safety bond.
Okay.
If they identify $60 million worth of work, we could issue a $60 million life
Right.
safety bond.
Okay,
And of course, then the state has to approve it.
Correct.
So that's
Correct.
the other part of it.
just checking.
Another piece to at least share with the board, again, making sure that we provide as many opportunities to you. There are some alternative options that can potentially show some financial savings to us, also provide a little bit of more of a timely opportunity for us to respond to some of our life safety needs or our facility improvement needs. We have historically used our architect firms and then their construction managers, in this case STR and Gilbane, to develop design, bid, and build projects. So we go to the architect STR, we ask them to design a solution for us, water mitigation, stadium, stem wing. They design this, then they put together that design, present it to us, present it to you as a board. You approve the design, then they send that project, that entire package out for bid to get the lowest, most responsible bids for all of the various elements of work with Gilbane as the construction manager. And then after those bids have been presented to you as a board and you approve those bids, then the project gets underway and built. There's new Illinois statute that, again, similar to the life safety audit changes, there are abilities for municipalities such as the school district to enter in what are called governmental joint purchasing acts, where we can sort of bypass the design, bid, build, and move solely to a design, build capacity. So we are a part of Omnia Partners, which is an educational purchasing co-op, where we can take public center, us as a public sector entity, we can work with individual businesses who offer pre-negotiated competitive contracts for various projects, such as things like what we're looking at doing in here. And two examples of companies are Optera and Midwest Mechanical, who we have met with, and we've kind of talked through some of these things. And companies like this are willing and able to do this type of work for us.
So have we used this service before?
We have not.
We have not. So you said STR then is eliminated from the process? Well,
Right,
like-
if we go with design build, we don't go with STR, and then we don't have Gilbane. Now, we're talking about a smaller project, like let's say the auditorium, for example, and some of the work in there, then, you know, it's not, STR does not do their designs, and Gilbane wouldn't be here. Now, of course, Gilbane's not going to be here anyway, right? It's a small project. But what what these companies do is they basically will take it all into account and come up with a price. That this is the price. So no surprises. They put in, this is what the price is going to be. If for some reason they find issues that go along the way, it's still the price. So there's some stability, there's some predictability, and you don't have to necessarily go through the bidding process, which takes time and money. And just real quick, then so for example, Midwest Mechanical, their specialty is HVAC.
Yeah.
So that's like their bread and butter. So if we do an HVAC project, then they would use their own people, let's say, and then they'll give you that price, and then we kind of take it or leave it, and then we go from there.
Okay, well then, particularly mechanical stuff, it's not like I have to worry about too much whether how much eye appeal I want designed into something, because it's all behind the walls and
Correct.
everything else anyway.
Correct.
And if they've got in-house designs and, you know, you expect them to have a pretty good idea what to do, that certainly seems to be a way to streamline the process, and ultimately, just on the work, I would hope would yield, you know, some savings in that regard if they're all doing it within the same four walls. Now, on top of that, I think I won't get invited to lunch next year. But there's 10% off the top from STR, right?
Correct.
I can live with that. And then Sam can practice. Sam will be here.
We'll go to
guess-
Panera, or, I don't know.
I got a question, Doug. How long has this been available as an option? Because I don't remember this. This has got to be fairly new.
Went into effect January 1st of 2024.
That's why. Okay, so this is very new.
Yes.
Okay. This is a nice option for us. This could yield some pretty good savings.
Yes.
As Dr. Benson was alluding to, with a process such as using an Optera Midwest Mechanical, we ask them, we want to, again, do an auditorium update. We meet with their team, they meet with us, we tell them what we would like to get done.
Yeah.
They take that information, they take it to, again, they're a part of a educational co-op, which has all prearranged and pre-negotiated contracts. It's all fair labor, all of the checks that are qualified under Illinois code. They come back to us and say, here is the price of the project. We bring that price to you as a board.
Yeah.
You approve that, then they immediately start working whenever we tell them. We don't have to go to, they give us a design, they give us an estimated price, then we say yes, and then they go back and they send it out to bid. What happens if they underestimated what the price would be? Those bids come back, you then vote no, and then it's scratched. For a place like Optera or Midwest Mechanical or any of these educational purchasing co-ops, they come to us with X dollar amount for this project. You come back and you tell me as the CSBO, too much, figure out a way to shave some money off of that project. I simply go back to them and say, we're going to cut X, Y, and Z, give us an updated price. I bring that back to you as a board, you approve it, and then they begin working on it.
Well, I like the efficiency of the dollars spent here. In other words,
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm done.
The quality of a project is really relying upon a quality assessment of needs. My concern with the design build is it put more onus on administrators to identify and assess need when it's kind of out of your purview. How does this not end up being like a car mechanic? I show up and tell them my water pump bad. Okay, I'll just fix your water pump and ignore what I know to really be wrong. But I gave you what you asked for. How do districts assess need? Because that's the most important part of a design build, is correctly and thoroughly assessing need. How do we account for that if we're going to take away STR and those type companies that provide that service to the district?
Not to diminish STR.
Any other company who would.
Any
I
company.
just use them as an example.
STR is also providing us a recommendation on the things to fix with the intended goal of hopefully procuring that contract. So they're selling something for us to buy as well. For us as a leadership team, what we intend on planning on doing and what we have begun doing is working with Kate and the building admin team, working with Jose and Carl and Dr. Benson, and obviously you as a board, to identify some of the universal needs that we all believe are imperative for improving and maintaining high quality teaching and learning. We bring those to you as what we have identified as facility needs. We don't necessarily have to take Midwest Mechanical's recommendations or STRs or Opteras or any of these companies. If they see what we see and those line up, that to me is a good indication that what they're selling is also what we're looking to buy, if that makes sense to use that analogy.
Well, I'm concerned about that because they are new kids in the block.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm seeing a lot of those and fail.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a marvelous idea, but I prefer to be more calm, to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a big building that we need to take care. And I don't want to spend $100 million and later on it's going to be a damage and we need $200 million to fix.
I guess my concern too ain't necessarily who builds it.
Yes.
It's the assessing part that
Yeah,
I'm most concerned with.
I think it's
I know that, my car don't work, but that's all I know.
Right.
I'm relying upon someone to tell me X, Y, and Z, this needs to be done and fixed.
You're right. If it's
And that's the part of it that I'm most concerned with, to assuring that what should get done is what's actually being fixed, not what I tell you the problem is, because
yeah, it makes
I'm not sure. But
it makes a lot of sense.
How does the district ensure that that assessment part is still being done, even with the design build?
Right, and so to avoid something like that, what we were talking about is maybe start with a single project. We mentioned auditorium. Let's just say hypothetically, air conditioning in the front gym, or whatever that may, and the field and the fitness center and the dance studio. So let's just say we go with that project. That's a pretty contained project. That it's not, it's within, like if it's with Midwest Mechanical, it's within their realm. So there's not a ton of assessments. It just has to do with that. Shouldn't be that complicated. To Reed's point, we don't need dynamic architectural,
Yes.
stunning views or anything. And I thought Gilbane did an excellent job here, but the reality is, they do big projects. They're not, going to help us with that. And so when Carrie was talking about administrators trying to figure a lot of this out, we're obviously trying to work on other things, but they do provide some oversight of the building process. And if there are subcontractors, they provide some oversight other than just Carl. So I think we don't want to go huge right off the bat, but maybe try a project out that the board and the administrative team are like, yeah, we really would like to do this, and go from there. So maybe that's sort of a way to test the waters.
Yeah, I like Sam's comments, and the follow-up is, now, I get Midwest Mechanical, they kind of tell me what they do in their name, but what is an Optera?
Optera, now I do not have the acronym in front of me, but Optera is an energy, they're an energy conservation, energy efficiency organization. So similar in the MEP, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, that's their bread and butter is also in the world of trying to find energy efficiencies
Let
within your
me
building.
ask this. Then if we're looking at a project and want to make sure that, we're going to get what we need done correctly, no fluffy add-ons or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, you could do the same thing that you could do with your car. You take it to one guy and say, what do I need? If you don't like his number, you take it to somebody else and see what they say, and see who's blowing smoke. So we have the same options, right?
We currently have it from STR, and both of these companies would be willing to do a full facility audit
Right, with these guys.
with both Optera and Midwest Mechanical to identify, so we have STR's information of our facility needs. We can ask both of these companies to do the same, see who identifies what, see who identifies
See if it aligns with you, whatever you're talking about
Correct.
before.
Correct.
So there is some way to double check, so to speak.
Correct.
So really, this is another option we have. It's a newer option. It cuts one step out. Save $1 million here, you save $1 million there. Eventually, we're going to do
Pretty
okay.
soon you start talking real money.
So, I mean, it's nice to know we have an option, and I think, I agree. I mean, this is new. We got to try and digest this.
Yeah.
But some of these smaller projects, if we can execute them a little faster, save a few steps, save some money here, save some money there, ultimately it adds up. Yeah, I'm not ready to say, let's redo the whole building based on this, by no means. But I think, I agree, those littler projects that we can take care of, that we can save some money here, save some money there, it all eventually adds up. It's just nice to know we have another option.
Correct.
And in my past world, I needed to buy a vehicle. Well, this is a state purchase vehicle, I don't need to go out for bid. I save a whole bunch of steps. Just, I go buy it. You're the sole supplier, here you go, here's my check, give me my vehicle, I'm off. So it's nice to know we have these options now outside of that realm, with mechanical, with plumbing, with other things. So it's a good tool to have. It's a good tool to have. But it's a lot to digest.
Yeah.
It's a lot to
Right,
do.
and there's no action taken,
No, it's just
clearly.
good to
It's
know.
just
Yeah.
getting out there to start thinking about.
You gotta start looking ahead.
You say they've been in existence for a couple of years now?
This, the health, life, safety bond issuance, that has been in play for a little over
I
2
mean,
years.
the design bill.
The design build option
Yes,
has been,
okay.
has been in play for 2 years. These other companies
know
have
you
been
do-
around for
yeah.
much
Yeah,
longer than
I
that.
know you're doing your due diligence. Just continue with that. If there's other districts that's, who've utilized them, I mean, just continue doing and reach out, get as much information as possible.
And I'll close with the last portion of this is and again, there is no action. This is just informational. If we were looking at sort of a recommendation, and we've all sort of been talking about that portion over this discussion. Again, we wouldn't do anything without board approval and further talks and et cetera. But the recommendation would be, as Mr. Grossi had pointed out, if we have facility needs within the building, we certainly do have that $5 million in Fund 60. But if we do have those items that aren't necessarily, they're vital and needs to the infrastructure, roofing, plumbing, things of that nature, that would address health, life, safety needs, we issue an amendment to our health, life, safety audit. Again, one of these companies, for example, at Midwest Mechanical, they, in theory, would identify many of the facility assessment needs that STR had identified for us. We would then take that dollar amount, we would issue a life safety bond. Again, this would require board action for whatever dollar amount. Then that would be relayed to the taxpayer. So similar to what we did back in 2015 and 2016 to renovate the front office area, the front building, and the security vestibule. Different than the 23-24 STEM wing, where this would be a bond issuance to the taxpayer, where the debt certificates are a bond issuance where we have to pay back the bill via fund balances. We use those $5 million for some of those other facility improvements that are the wants, not necessarily the needs. And then we use a company like one of these procurement companies. Start small. We do not have to do all of the things that we've identified. We can start one by one, individual projects, assess their worth and assess their value to us. And then if we agree that this is something that is continuing with a partnership that we both benefit from, we could then use and do another project and another project, et cetera.
So to reiterate, these are intertwined in a way, because if we decide to move forward to life safety bond, that would impact maybe what you're spending the $5 million on that we already have. So that's why they're connected. If we choose not to do the life safety bond, then again, that $5 million takes on a different lens, quite frankly. So just some things to think about. This is probably something that we would come back to after, you think about it, and we kind of see what the next steps might be with revising the
For a
audit.
facility and finance meeting where we can have a little more depth, a little more time, you could bring some more suggestions, a little more for us to digest. Yeah, this is a lot of new information. I think it's going to take time to settle. And I think little bites of this apple can go a long way.
And we do, just to reiterate, I know this has been a thing that we have talked about in the past. We have no timeline obligation to get any of this work done. We've completed all of the steps required to spend. So that $5 million in Fund 60, it's not burning a hole in our pocket that we need to spend it.
If I'm correct, I thought we did have a time frame on using that $5 million, though.
We needed to spend up to at least 85% of the money we borrowed within the first 3 years after we borrowed it. We have met that.
Okay.
Correct.
President Lewis is correct. There was, in past years, some talk about having 2 years or so to spend that money. But Rob's still here, You with us, Rob? Okay. So that 5 million, in essence, since we spent over 85%, what Doug's telling us is, we don't have a time limit on how to spend that, so. Okay, good.
We just need to spend it appropriately.
So hold off on the
Yeah.
5 million until
Oh,
we
so
figure out the
what
other
the-
issues,
What did,
or the other step.
Yeah, turn on your mic.
It was on.
Oh, sorry.
with the design build is, of course, that means we can have quicker startup time for projects?
Correct.
Okay.
And if there's no such, in a design bid build, I know this is a small thing, but it's not when we start looking at this. Throughout the projects for the water mitigation and the stem wing, there were a number of times when we wanted to make a change order, and then we have to pause and we have to bring that to the board, and then we're subject to whatever pricing that subcontractor. In a design build, you bypass that bid process, where if we did need to make a change, we just immediately speak with them. They give us, if it's within the scope of the project, there's no change to the price or anything like that. If there's an additional cost, if we wanted to veer left on something right away, they would just give us a projected cost. We'd bring it to the board, you approve, and then they just do it.
I have a question. Well, that means that during this last project, for instance, when we had to stop and get approvals or do whatever we had to do administratively, we injected inefficiencies into the process, and that probably cost us more money in the long run.
Correct. Yeah, the change orders, again, you think of your personal home. If you built a home and then in the middle of the construction, you wanted to update those countertops, that's when those construction managers get you, because now they're going to upsell you on that price in that change order.
Then they got to stop and restart and do a
Correct.
bunch of chunk. of
Welcome to
this.
government.
What kind of checks and balances are in place with the design build, since it's part of a cooperative that give the district some assurance on quality of delivery of project?
So in order to qualify for that Omnia Partner, that educational procurement cooperative, they have to submit a bid to be able to do the work. So within their bid, they've adhered to purchasing agreements that align to all of the Illinois school code. They align to all the other municipalities. They align to all the labor standards that are adhered to Illinois school code. So everything they do is aligned with what a Gilbane and an STR also have to provide.
So in summary, they've already been vetted.
Correct. Yep. Correct.
Well, it was good. Thank you. You did your homework. I like it.
To not be in construction management, I thought I was going to trip you up somewhere.
I appreciate that. I want to turn this over quickly to somebody else. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Anyway, great talk on finances. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate you coming out. So we wanted to highlight, this is a special night. Dr. Jason Klein will be the next superintendent of Fenton Community High School District 100, pending board approval here in a little bit. But we also like to thank HYA for being here, and Carrie's back there, and Lynn. Yep, there they are. They're waving. So thank you for all your efforts through this journey. A little trip down memory lane. The search began in late August, includes stakeholder engagement. Of course, feedback was provided through the community. And I'd personally like to thank the board. You guys have had special board meetings. You've had all-day meetings. There's just been a lot of time and effort that went into this process. And so I want to thank you for your efforts in finding the right candidate. So here in a little bit, you're going to be voting on Dr. Klein's contract. And after that, and after the board meeting's over, we have some time to meet and greet. So stay tuned. We also have a board member vacancy. There's Rachel Matug. We're sorry to see her go for her 7 to 8 months of dedicated service here at Fenton. But right now, just to review where we're at, we have posted her position To date, we have 2 applicants. The application deadline for anyone listening at home or watching at home, Friday, January the 9th, 3:30 p.m. So please get your applications in. You just need to email Karen, and she will get you that application. Then we will share the application with the board. I would like you briefly to maybe take a look at your calendars, because the way we've done this in the past is we would have a special board meeting. We're looking at the second week of January, if you want to take a quick look at your calendars to see. The reason for that is in closed session, the board would interview the candidates. And once the board decides on who the candidate would be, then we would, at the January board meeting, swear in that new board member. And that's within the 60-day requirement of filling that seat. And then there's some other logistical things after that we have to do. Any questions on this process? Okay, well, hold on. Is there any dates? Would perhaps a Wednesday work for the board? Are we used to Wednesdays, or are there a few dates to stay away from that week, the second week of January?
You're going to schedule this like right now?
Well, no, I mean, I just think maybe some feedback would be nice.
Wednesdays, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Wednesdays seem to always be
The better of the
of the
days.
options for all of us.
I know on the 14th, as of right now, I'm open.
Okay.
So that'd be the 14th. But yeah, I think, I know we've heard from other board members that Wednesdays are better, so I'm good with that.
Tentatively, yes.
Tentative, yeah.
Tentatively.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm okay. I'm thinking of us 15 and 16, so 14 is gonna be okay.
I'm good also.
Okay. Okay. Very good. We'll have Karen reach out and we'll try to solidify that date as we get closer. All right.
Are you having him say anything?
Yeah, it's going to have to be approval.
Okay.
Okay, power ad advertising proposal. Now, this is, we're just bringing this to the board here tonight. There's no action to be taken, but as we look at potential revenue streams, this kind of fits in nicely as far as having some advertising. Part of this process is, there's district policy on advertising. We would eventually bring this to the board at a later date for approval. But Jose's going to kind of take the lead with this.
Thank you, Dr. Benson. So Fenton administrative team, Dr. Wilds, myself, Mr. Kambick, we met with Power Ad. We would like the board to consider allowing us to proceed with the contracts, not today, not tonight, but in the future, in which Power Ad would help us generate revenue for the district via advertising dollars. This is a national company that works with over 50 schools in the Chicagoland area. We would look to advertise in our stadium, the gym, the field house areas. The contract would be for 10 years with 50% of the revenue coming to the district. The superintendent would be able to review all advertisements prior to entering into any agreements with any of the advertisers. We would also be able to terminate the contract at any point. The board has this information and can review over the next month or so and then decide in January whether or not they'd like to proceed with this. We also wanted to note that this contract was reviewed by our district attorney as well, so he has looked over it.
Any thoughts on advertising from the board?
I definitely think that's a huge opportunity. I'm sure there's plenty of businesses that would advertise on that digital board as well as outside on the fence.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, sir.
We talked a couple of years or so ago, I'm going to start old issue and work to the new issue, about the scoreboard. We've been selling ads on there for a while, right?
We have not been able to secure any advertising dollars on there, so we thought that using a company like Power Ad would help us to get some more advertisers interested in this.
Okay.
One of the things that did come about in the past, and we could discuss this again, we did try to discuss using the tennis courts as a place of advertising as well as the back of the scoreboard. The village was not in favor of that at the time, but that's something we try to talk about again with the village.
Well, then I have to, because Would the village get in the middle of this issue then?
They specifically stated they did not care about the stadium as its front, that particular sign faces the stadium
as long-
field.
they're worried
Right.
about the
They're
back.
talking about
Yeah.
anything that faces the
It's too much
streets.
like a billboard, basically, if
All right,
you do the
all
back
right,
of it.
and
yeah.
okay, I get that.
Yes, sir.
Now let's talk about this other thing on the scoreboard. You know, I can see where that would be attractive, but you know, I also think it can be intrusive. You know, I'm there to enjoy the game, and having that thing flashing with so many of these signs I see today, that they must have the volume turned all the way up, you know, that there's no way that you can, you know, go by them and not be distracted by their presence. I would question the value of how much revenue you're gonna think you're gonna get on that as compared to interrupting the ambiance of the sports event. You know, out there, if I don't like that, I can turn away and go see what the quarterback or the tight end's doing. You're in the stadium like that, and
You mean the one on the left, sir, the scoring table?
right. If you're in the auditorium,
So that would probably be indoors during the basketball games. That's a scores table. And I think it would just probably put up like an insurance company, let's say. I don't think there's going to be graphics, and I don't think it's that
I
sophisticated.
can ask to get more
Yeah.
specifics on that,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's a graphic. I think it's a pretty much like a, like a logo, you
Yeah.
know?
well, I mean, if it, 'cause that
Static.
looks like an LED thing. If somebody just wants to put a poster up or something like that, I don't care.
Yeah. I think we
like
can
it-
make sure it's static and not like,
I'm doing
fireworks
but
and
the next
stuff,
thing you
yeah.
know, you've got one of these things that's flashing between 3 or 4 different advertisers.
Sure.
And, you know, just by reaction, you're always going to be drawn to it, and they know that.
I think we can avoid that, yeah.
So,
Yep.
As long as it's not too bright and we can set some parameters, I don't think it's an issue.
well, make sure they, you know,
Same-
make
same
sure
here.
it's on set to dim.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
I think Jose can dig more into that detail.
Yeah,
and
we
bring
can get more information.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Maybe we can get live video of one actually in operation and just see how obnoxious or not obnoxious it is to help make that decision. Although we
Understood.
do need the money.
Is that 50-50 split hard? Is it negotiable?
I think this is pretty much standard for them. I don't think they really go off of that, so. And
Yeah,
obviously,
the
we can
theory-
terminate the contract at
Right.
any
The
time.
theory is they specialize, they know how to go after people and continually
I don't want to,
bring more in than if it's up to Jose and Doug and going
That's
door
a-
to door.
That's a
may not be-
50-50 split of the revenue they personally generate.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
They
Yes,
own the
good
equi-
point.
they
Yeah,
own
if you
the
don't
equipment?
raise anything, they don't get paid anything.
What's that? I'm sorry?
Yeah.
They own the equipment, they maintain the equipment,
No, those are ours. We own that already. We have the scores table. We own the.
but what they put on it, the sign,
We would be responsible for putting it up. Yeah.
but they supply it. They maintain it?
I believe so. They provide, no, we maintain it. Once we put it up, we have to make
Oh,
sure.
it's ours?
It's ours, yeah.
We take possession of it?
We take possession,
All right,
yes.
all right.
Could
Okay,
there
that makes-
potentially be sponsored tiers on how long your ad is up?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The size of it, things of that nature. Yeah, and we could, if things go well, we could always go back to them and ask for more, depending on what the board, the preference from the board. We can ask for more.
Feedback.
Signage,
Yeah.
whether it's in the stadium, like along the fence line, things of that nature.
Okay.
It's an option.
All right, thank you. Next slide.
So just a few FOIAs. These were all resolved this past month. Smart Procure asked for all the purchases in the last quarter. Public info access requested copies of existing record listing of all active employees within the district. Chicagoland Laborers District requests all the contract award notices from the STEM project. Specifically, they asked for the date of March 20th, 2025. And then Lucy Parsons Labs resolved, they wanted to know names and login credentials pertaining to Flock.
There's no other.
No other.
No other?
Can I have a motion to approve, in a second, to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
May I have a roll call?
Radzinski,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Goodrich,
Abstain.
Lewis.
Yes. Motion passed. May I have a motion that the Board of Education approves the appointment of Dr. Jason Klein as superintendent starting July the 1st, 2026?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Who's taking the second?
Read.
Okay.
Any discussion? Just kidding. Roll call.
Goodrich,
Yes, no?
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Radzinski,
Yes.
Figueroa. Figueroa,
Yes. Let me
Lewis.
digest that.
Yes. Motion passed.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jason Klein as our next superintendent. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I am so humbled and I'm so honored and grateful. I have had a true dream job the last 7 years working with school districts and community colleges and universities and state agencies across Illinois. And Fenton was the only thing that made me want to leave that dream job. I felt real drawn here. And the reasons I felt drawn here are, number one, this community. This community is amazing. Values are amazing, and the resources we have in this community. The things that are already happening in classrooms, in clubs and activities, and sports, and the things we can still do. Just sitting there in the last discussion, I'm looking at my own kids saying, hey, here's a work-based learning opportunity for you, advertising major. Get on this. And so, and then the team here at Fenton. I've had the privilege of getting to do a little bit of work with a small number of that team, but oh my goodness, the level of care for our students and families here, the foundation of success, again, from the classroom to the outside activities, whether it's the speech team or cross country and beyond. And I think we are in the most amazing spot in so many ways to innovate and to take this crazy strong foundation and do really exciting things for students and for the community and with our families. And so for me, I can't wait to just start meeting people and getting to know everybody deeply. And I think we heard about the finances tonight. We are ready to meet this moment instructionally, financially, organizationally, how we work together as a community. And again, I'm deeply honored and humbled and grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please stick around after the board meeting. We have some cupcakes and a swag bag for you, Jason. So be ready for that.
May I have a motion that the Board of Education adopts the 2025 Certificate of Tax Levy and Tax Levy Resolutions as presented?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Miller,
Yes.
Radzinski,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Goodrich,
No.
Lewis.
Yes, motion passed. May I have a motion that the Board of Education approves the IGA intergovernment agreement relating to the O'Hare Noise Compatibility Commission as presented?
Motion.
Second.
Sam, could you?
Yeah, just real quick. So we already sit on this commission. Obviously, it's been going on for quite a while. This is just an annual renewal. That's all it is, but we do need to approve it here by the end of the month so we can turn it in, so we can continue to be part of this commission that meets on this topic. So our recommendation is to approve it.
Roll call.
Goodrich,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Radzinski,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes, motion passed. Does anyone have any committee reports?
Bensonville Foundation met. Our next meeting will be January 22nd. We did not receive the Subaru grant, which is majority of the money that's used. It went to the Bensonville Youth Coalition, I believe. So that money's still available in the community. You're just having another group administer it. We were able to fulfill all of the obligations, all of the requests we received. They're not obligations, they're requests, leaving us a fund balance of $37,473 to use over the next year. So the decision of the group was to go back to micro grants, the smaller grants, just because there's not as much money. People who reach out to us that we can't help, we're going to direct them over there if they meet the requirements of the Youth Coalition. So the money's still out there in the community. It's just they're going to have to go somewhere else to ask for it. It sounds like Subaru may be alternating. We don't know for sure, but it is what it is. So that money's still out there in the community. It's just available through another resource, not through the foundation. There's still some funds available, and there's some other funds that are put away for specific purposes. So, micro grants could still come, but it's probably going to be a lot smaller. We're going to have to be a lot more selective, and certain things we're probably going to say, please go see them, because it really meets the needs of the Youth Coalition versus us, and they have the money to assist you. So that's where that's at. So the meetings have been set for next year. Mike and I are still sitting on that board, and that's all we have on the foundation.
I don't really have a NetSec update.
All right, that's it. A tentative policy meeting is scheduled at 6 p.m. prior to the regular board meeting, to the next regular board meeting in January. The next scheduled Board of Education meeting is Wednesday, January the 28th, 2026 at 7 p.m. As part of the agenda, there will be no closed session tonight. May I have a motion? Oops, no. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn? All in favor, say aye.
Abstain.
Thank you.